These days, most view stories as mere entertainment, while others dismiss them as just fiction. But what if I told you both perspectives are fundamentally wrong? Come along as we cast your beloved stories in His transcendent light. This is Transcendentals. Hey, how you guys doing? I'm Sean Jones, your host, and today we're going to be taking a closer look at the very standard we believe God has given us all to assess every story we encounter. Whether that's His story, the one that we live in, or something a little less dramatic like what you may find on TV. So, if you head over to theliminals.org, which is our production company, smack dab on the front page, you'll find outlined the exact standard we create by. Truth, goodness, and beauty, otherwise known as the Transcendentals. The concept of the Transcendentals grew in prominence stemming as far back as the 6th century with St. Augustine or Augustine, whichever you prefer. But that's neither here nor there. We like to ground this idea all the way back to the beginning in Genesis. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 9, we read, "And out of the ground the Lord God made to spring up every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life was in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil." Now, most of you probably read through that and didn't really think much of it. I know I didn't, but then I stopped, slowed down, and took a closer look. So, in the garden, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil both stand as reminders of God's determined boundaries for life and righteousness. So, in accordance with God's creative example we find there, we maintain that all creation is to be true to His determined boundaries for life and righteousness. So that's truth. But that's not all we're looking for. So going back to the same verse, we also see a small little line there that says, "pleasant to the sight." In the garden, God springs up trees that are pleasant to the sight. So, in accordance with this creative example, we also maintain that all creation is to be beautiful. But then again, a lot of people think beauty is subjective. We hear the phrase, "beauty's in the eye of the beholder." I hate that. I hate that because beauty is not something that is subjective. It's objective. Look at a sunset. Look at a sunrise. Look at a waterfall. Those things are objectively beautiful. And the one who stands in opposition of that truth truly needs to rewire themselves because they stand out of step with what God has inherently made beautiful. Now, where people often get in trouble is when they're caught saying something is beautiful that they ought not be looking at, which is why it's so important to balance beauty with truth, which we already looked at, but also this last piece, goodness. So in the garden, God springs up trees that are good for food, meaning, in accordance with His creative example, once again, we maintain that all creation is to be of good substance. So when you're looking at any piece of art or any creation, and it's maybe violated God's boundaries for life and righteousness, or it's lacking in beauty or its substance, well, you may very well be looking at something that has been created, it's displayed before you, but you can't in good conscience say that what you're looking at is true, good, or beautiful. And that really makes it inferior to good art or a good creation. So, as we head into this first season and take a look at some of your beloved stories, we're going to be using this exact same standard to assess them. And I think some of you guys are going to be surprised. And hopefully in time, you'll be able to better identify creative that is truly transcendent. But until then, keep looking for His light, because it's always been there. See you next time. it's Sean here. Just wanted to let you know that if you want to support this show and see more content like it, you can head to theliminals.org/fund. There you'll be able to support the show and get it out to more people just like yourselves. God bless. See you next time.